Good evening. Today is October 7th. It's 2 years today since the horrific attack in southern Israel by the Palestinians. The 1,200 people dead, those poor kids at the Nova Festival, the people in the kibbutzim, all murdered and sliced and diced and breast cut off and rapes and the absolute inhumanity of what happened 2 years ago today must be remembered, and we remember that today. Unfortunately, there are a number of protests around the world, as there have been every weekend and very often, pretty much every day in London and all that for pro-Palestinian. And of course, they're celebrating today. They're celebrating their martyrs. I say murderers. Actions on October 7th, and they celebrate these deaths, and they don't care about what happened on October 7th and how they were treated and the inhumanity of it all. It's just not what we believe. We believe in. We feel bad for every death. It doesn't matter if it's in Israel or in Gaza. Nobody wants these things, but they celebrate. Anyway, I just wanted to mention that as an introduction today. And let's talk about the most important response, I think, today. It comes from New York. And that is Zoran Mondami, the guy running for mayor of New York, put out a statement today. And I have to tell you, it was fairly offensive. I'm going to read it to you. 2 years ago today, Hamas carried out a horrific war crime, killing more than 1,100 Israelis and kidnapping 250 more. I mourn these lives and pray for the safe return of every hostage still held and for every family whose lives were torn apart by these atrocities. Now, that's the end of anything he says positive about Israel or Jews. In the aftermath of that day, Prime Minister Netanyahu and the Israeli government launched a genocidal war. Not what they did was genocidal, just what Israel has done. A death toll that now far exceeds 67,000. That number comes from Hamas, remember, with the Israeli military bombing homes, hospitals, and schools into rubble. Remember, almost every building was booby-trapped. Every day in Gaza has become a place where grief itself has run out of language. I mourn those lives and pray for those families that have been shattered. Not that the Jews were shattered. Our government has been complicit through it all. This must end. The occupation and apartheid must end. Peace must be pursued through diplomacy, not war crimes. And our government must act to end these atrocities and hold those responsible to account. These last 2 years have demonstrated the very worst of humanity. I agree. We must answer it by modeling the very best, a relentless pursuit of our higher ideals, and an unwavering commitment to universal human rights. Unfortunately, there is no such thing as universal human rights. That's a made-up thing by some far-left organizations. But anyway, I do, agree with him at the end. Of course, it's the worst of humanity. Israel responded today by the Israel Foreign Ministry put out, as you can see, the same Zoran here. And Israel put out and says, 2 years after Hamas launched its barbaric massacre against Israel and the Jewish people, Mondami has chosen to act as a mouthpiece for Hamas propaganda, spreading Hamas's fake genocide campaign. By repeating Hamas's lies, he excuses terror and normalizes anti-Semitism. He stands with Jews only when they are dead. Shameful. I have to say, I sort of agree with Israel, and I just don't think this man should be mayor, for a whole lot of reasons, not just Jewish related, but just for a whole lot of reasons, not the least being he has no experience whatsoever of running anything, let alone the biggest city in America. Anyway, peace talks are going on over Gaza are going on today, of course, in Egypt, and there hasn't been a lot of news. It's day 2. Very little has come out, although I was able to find a couple of things here. Signals coming from behind closed doors. This is from Sky News. After the first day were sparse but cautiously optimistic. Citing sources close to the negotiations, Al Jazeera reported the meeting was positive and that a roadmap was drawn up for how the current round of talks would continue. But Qatar, one of the mediators, said today it could be neither optimistic nor pessimistic. Many of the details had to be worked out, a foreign ministry spokesperson said, indicating an imminent agreement was unlikely, despite Trump's recurring throw-ins urging all parties to move fast. The best report I found today was here on, it was from Al Jazeera, which actually was quite informative. And Hamas seeks guarantees that Israel will end Gaza war as talks continue. Hamas and Israel have concluded a second day of indirect negotiations on United States President Donald Trump's proposal to end the war in Gaza, as senior Qatari and U.S. officials headed to Egypt to join the talks. Speaking at the White House on the second anniversary of the start of the war, Trump said there was a real chance of a Gaza deal. As Tuesday's talks wrapped up in the Egyptian resort town of Sharm el-Sheikh. However, the day had opened with an umbrella of Palestinian factions, including Hamas, issuing a statement that promised a resistance stance by all means, stressing that no one has the right to cede the weapons of the Palestinian people. And an apparent reference to the key demand for the disarmament of the armed group contained in Trump's 20-point plan. Obviously, that's Hamas. That's going to be a hard sticking point. A senior Hamas official who spoke to Al Jazeera on condition of anonymity said Tuesday's talks indicated that the group intends to release captives in stages linked to the withdrawal of Israel's military from Gaza. The official said that Tuesday's talks had focused on scheduling the release of Israeli captives and withdrawal maps for Israeli forces, with the group stressing that the release of the last Israeli hostage must coincide with the final withdrawal of Israeli forces. Hamas's top negotiator, Khalil al-Hayya, that's the guy that they were trying to kill in Doha, and his son was actually killed. His son was in the building and was his secretary. Said that the group did not trust the occupation, not even for a second, according to Egyptian state TV, linked Al-Qahara News. He said Hamas wanted real guarantees that the war would end and not be restarted, accusing Israel of violating 2 ceasefires in the war in Gaza. Israel, Benjamin Netanyahu released a statement to mark the anniversary of the Hamas-led attack on southern Israel that sparked Israel's war, calling for the last 2 years of conflict a war for our very existence and future. Despite signs of continued differences, the talks appear to be the most promising sign of progress towards ending the war yet, with Israel and Hamas both endorsing many parts of Trump's plan. Qatar's Minister of Foreign Affairs spokesman said the mediators, Qatar, Egypt, and Turkey, were staying flexible and developing ideas as the ceasefire talks progress. We do not go with perceived notions to the negotiations. We develop these formulations during the talks themselves, which is happening right now, he said. Al-Ansari told Al Jazeera the Qatari Prime Minister and Foreign Minister Sheikh Mohammed bin Al-Jarhum bin Jassim Al-Thani will join other mediators. That's, so the head of Qatar is going to join the other mediators, including Steve Witkoff and Jared Kushner on Wednesday. It's tomorrow. So let's see what comes out of that. I guess I should read this. The Sheikh's participation confirms the mediators' determination to reach an agreement that ends the war. That's good. That's a positive thing. Next, I wanted to show you a completely different topic altogether. Yesterday, the ADL, and obviously they timed it to get maximum exposure and more people looking at this today, released their annual report of anti-Semitism in the U.S. As you can see right here, published on October 6th. Executive summary. I'm going to give you an executive summary of the executive summary here. The findings highlight both the widespread effects of anti-Semitism and the remarkable resilience of Jewish communities. Over half of Jewish Americans, 55%, report experiencing some form of anti-Semitism in the past year. Nearly 1 in 5, 18%, were either the victim of an assault, experienced threat of physical attack, or experienced verbal harassment due to their Jewish identity in the past year, while over 1/3, 36%, witnessed actual or threatened anti-Semitic violence. Safety concerns are widespread among American Jews. Over 50% are somewhat or very or always worried about personal safety. 1/3 have discussed with others what they would do in a worst-case scenario, and 14% have actually developed a plan should they need to flee the country due to rising anti-Semitism. These rates are significantly higher for those that did experience direct anti-Semitic harm. Jewish Americans who did experience direct anti-Semitic harm or witnessed anti-Semitic acts within the past 12 months exhibited higher rates of symptoms used to screen for anxiety and depression. 1 in 5 Jews, which is only 20%, who wore something distinctively Jewish before October 7th, have since taken it off. So either they were wearing a Mogen David star or they were wearing a kippah, that type of thing. But you know what? The positive part of that is 80% are still wearing it and willing to show their Jewish identity in America. So that's a positive thing. Anyway, I just wanted to read this one line. The attacks on October 7th and their aftermath have profoundly reshaped the landscape of Jewish life in the United States, presenting both unprecedented challenges and new opportunities for community engagement. So that's the report. If you want to see it for yourself, just go to the ADL website, and it's right on the front that you can click a tab. Next, I'm going to take us in a different direction here. And I am not a big fan, I don't like the far left of Democracy Now! And I don't agree with Goodman on a lot of things that she talks about. But this video today that they put out is very interesting and very informative and not very politically left or right or anything like that. I found it to be just a very informative video that I think is worth your own time. I happened to be just searching through YouTube and ran across this and then decided I would go over to the website and take a look. So they interviewed the ex-Israeli negotiator, Daniel Levy, who's a British guy that he worked for the U.S. I believe it was in the Oslo Accords back in the day. And he discussed a lot of things. Daniel Levy says, well, it's not a peace plan. It's many things, but not that. Look, the most important component is whether they can bring an end to the Israeli assault ceasefire, the release of Israelis, the release of Palestinians held in Israel, the Israeli military withdrawal from Gaza. Now, in those things, a 20-point plan are extremely light on detail, hence the need to flesh those out to make sure there will actually be a withdrawal, that there will actually be massive ramping up of assistance that's allowed in, and those are the things that are being discussed now in Cairo, one imagines. The pressure is on to simply and ridiculously say, you know what, trust America, those good things will happen. So basically he's saying it's not really a plan, it's just a bunch of points right now. And he's not anti this discussion at all. He really just gave a very good conversation about what some of these points are from both sides and what he's hearing and how these things can get passed. What Hamas is saying, I think, is twofold. Number one, we need, and they know there's no ironclad guarantee, but they need is they have asserted throughout, at least for the possibility of an Israeli withdrawal, the humanitarian assistance, and the desisting from the mass killing of Palestinians to be credible. Netanyahu, in terms of the change in his position, that largely comes because the American president seems to be more insistent now. But what he would like to do is maintain the ability to avoid the parts of this plan, which, while they won't lead to peace, could at least lead to something less awful in Gaza. What I think we're seeing here is a convergence, though, now around a demand from Trump. And let's at least acknowledge that with all the faults in this plan, and there are multiple, as I said, Biden never pushed this hard. His administration didn't push this hard. And we are seeing an attempt by the Arab and regional and Muslim majority state mediating parties to try to navigate this at least to a place where an end to the genocide is possible. I don't like the fact he's calling it a genocide, but that's really about as bad as he was. I would suggest watching this. Either go to YouTube and type in Democracy Now, or maybe it'll come up under Daniel Levy, or just go to Democracy Now's website and just take a listen to this video. You'll learn a lot about what negotiations are about and how he sees things are plausible or not plausible for outcomes here. And last, to share this, to end this video on a positive note, this is what happened in the middle of Berlin today, in the middle of Europe, with all the marches and the pro-Palestinian stuff and all the bad news we've had. At least we have negotiations going on for the end of the war. And Berlin today in the Brandenburg Gate had projected on it the Israeli flag, which I think in remembrance, I think, coming from the middle of Germany and middle of Europe is a phenomenal thing. And it's a nice ending to our video. I'll get back to American politics in the next video. Thank you for watching.